Am I the a-hole for causing a scene and embarrassing my husband? My husband and I have a home that has the garage underneath our living space, and where summer is upon us, he has been having his buddies over for his typical summer shindigs. This is a normal and I have zero issue with it. Up until this year, I was also down in that garage hanging out with everyone. But this year, we have a baby. She was 5 days old when this happened. Now, my husband is a great man and a fantastic father and has really cut back on having people over. However, it's like his buddies are so excited to get back here that they turn ignorant once we finally do open our doors. This was the hangout spot because we have a huge fire pit, billiards, karaoke and a bar. This past weekend my husband had people over to kick off summer, and he has one friend, who we will call Nate, who has never been very mindful of anything around him. He's like a giant kid, despite being well into his late 30s. He shows up on his brand new motorcycle and parked it in our garage. We were supposed to get rain, so I couldn't tell you why he drove the bike, but I'm assuming he just wanted to show it off. There was probably about 8 people here, I think. I was upstairs with our baby, told my husband to have a good time and went about my night. Well, my husband took off around 7-8 p.m.-ish to go grab beer, leaving Nate and the rest of the guys in the garage, except for John, who went with husband. The store is only 5 minutes away. I had just gotten the baby to sleep when all of a sudden my home is literally shaking. Effin' vibrating with the sound of a consistent, extremely loud, continuous revving of the motorcycle, right inside my garage and underneath our living area. I could not hear a damn thing over that motorcycle. To paint a picture here, when the guys are over and in the garage, you can literally hear them speaking. So the revving of this motorcycle completely overtook our home. My baby started screaming bloody murder. I'm trying to cover her ears, but that's just not doing anything. I grabbed the baby and went outside, where the sound was much quieter, went to the garage and lost my shit entirely. I told Nate that he was an inconsiderate effin' prick. He knows how thin that floor is, he knows our living area is directly above the garage and that we have a 5-day-old baby, and he decided to show how big his dick was by revving the piss out of his Harley in the garage for, not kidding, 5 minutes straight. I told him he had to leave. He apologized, said he forgot, he wasn't thinking, etc. etc. My husband shows back up. The baby is still screaming bloody murder in my arms. My husband takes the baby and asks what's going on, and me still being pissed off, loudly told him how Nate decided to rev his bike up for 5 minutes and probably gave the baby a migraine because of how loud it was upstairs and that he needed to leave. My husband looked at Nate and said, "Why would you do that?" And Nate got pissed and said, "I effin' already said that, I just wasn't thinking." My husband kind of turned to me and said that we should just move on, but I was honestly so fuming that I said we would move on once Nate was gone. This isn't the first time he's been incredibly inconsiderate. My husband just let out a sigh, shook his head and said, "Maybe everyone should leave, this was a bad idea," and walks upstairs with the baby. Nate's girlfriend turned to me and said, "It was an honest effin' mistake and you just became so unhinged that you embarrassed your husband. I hope you feel good about yourself, psycho." Everyone left without looking at me, and my husband hasn't said anything to me about it, other than he gets it. Am I the a-hole? ETA, I was probably still pissed because Nate came here when the baby was 2 days old and started talking as soon as he walked in and got the baby crying then too. When I told him to quiet down, he said, "You need to be loud around babies so they will sleep through it," and kept being disrespectful until my husband took him outdoors. So he's just not respectful at all. Edit, I told my husband he could have his buddies over. He made it clear to them that no one was allowed in the main house, and I heard him repeat several times that the baby was upstairs and to be respectful. I have zero issues with my husband having people here. My husband is a damn good man and he respects me above all else. Was having people over with a 5-day-old baby the best of ideas? Probably not. But he also hasn't hung out with anyone for months because the last 2 to 3 months of my pregnancy were extremely rough and I needed a lot of help, so he was unavailable to everyone. He deserved a night and I feel terrible that I cut it short, without meaning to. Nate waited until after my husband left to go to the store to act like a teenager. He wouldn't have done that if my husband was here.